Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, warm welcome to another edition of our evening program. And let me also warmly welcome all the viewers watching this program online. It's a pleasure to have you. Please, that you could join us online. And if you have any questions, as usual, please send your questions to the numbers which is flashed on your screen, and the team MMA will pick it up and place it before the distinguished panelists this evening. Before I call upon the distinguished panelists to come and discuss on the various most awaited theme for this evening, let me briefly tell you what's happening. I'll take 1 or 2 minutes to tell you the December events, what's been already finalized, which we already shared with you. Just if you missed it in your inbox, next event is happening on 6th of December. That is Leaders in the Making, the Crucibles of Change Makers in HR. It's a very interesting thing. We got some of the best HR professionals talking to Dr. Arvind Agarwal, then you all know HR, Mr. T.V. Rao, Sridhar Ganesh, former Executive Director of HR from Murugappa Group, and Mr. Nathan. Nathan is a partner at Deloitte and is also Chief Talent Officer of Deloitte in Asia. Then also we have Vijay Lakshmi, Master Coach Mentor. So this is a team which is going to be talking to on 6th of December. Then on Monday the 12th, we have a program on the 4th Arkeswamy Memorial Lecture. All these programs are happening in person. We are likely to get one of the very, very high-profile leader from New Delhi. Confirmation is awaited, but the event is confirmed on the 12th of 6 to 7:30 p.m. Then on 14th, we have relevance of data science across all functions. We have a speaker from USA who is going to talk to us all about data science, how it's going to impact on various business activities. This is happening in person at MMA. Then on 15th of December, we have Becoming Powerful and Unlocking Your Potential. This program is under Women Business Forum. Got Nirupama Subramaniam, co-founder and managing partner Glow from New Delhi. She's going to be talking to us on this. Then on 16th of December, we have again discussion on the book Service Uninterrupted, where we have very outstanding panelists. The Honorable Justice of Chennai Madras High Court, Mr. Suresh Kumar. Then we have Mallika Srinivasan, Chairman of TAFE, Mr. M. M. Murugappan, Chairman of Murugappa Group, Mr. Shankar, former Chief Vigilance Commissioner, and Rajendran, former Governor of Orissa. So we've got a very, very high profile. It's a very, very interesting thing not to be missed on 16th of December. Then on 19th, we have again a very, very interesting subject which is very, very dear to us, managing national defense post-1962. You know what happened in 1962 and how India got into serious trouble. Since then, how we moved and what is that is we lacking. So because last month we had neighborhood policy, because we want people, the management, to really understand not only all about corporate culture, corporate making bottom line. We also want to understand geopolitical issues and what's happening around you, which will be very, very important in your endeavor. We have got Air Marshal Matheshan, one of the finest fighter pilot. Then we got Stanley Johnny, international business editor of Hindu, and Satyamurthy. We're also trying to get the man who is heading Arjun tanks and Audi tank factory head. Then we got 22nd of program, another evening, another book on Read and Grow. Then Friday, 23rd December, we have again on cost accounting. It's happening at different locations. Friday, 23rd December, we are having a evening seminar with Institute of Cost Accounts. It's a national seminar with some outstanding subject which is very, very relevant for the cost accountant. Is still being finalized. And on 25th of November, we have new tax regime versus old tax regime for individual. Bhupati & Co. This will be happening at Bhupati & Co. Chartered Account. This is what happening today. And coming to today, and you all know, this is a program which is very popular with us, Read and Grow. We strongly again believe that if you are a great leader, you have to be a great reader. I've seen some outstanding leaders come and speak in MMA. They are all voracious leaders. And I know some of the leaders whose group I am there in WhatsApp group. At least once in a week they send me a book summary. Not that I read all of them, but it's so interesting because I feel at times ashamed that I'm not able to even read the book summary. Some of them are so beautifully content. But what I'm telling you, people who are here watching this program, make a habit to start developing the reading habit. And MMA got a fantastic library, e-library. We got thousands of books, e-books. Plus, we got 1.25 million research papers. Please log in. It's all available free and complimentary to MMA members. Please do reach all this facility we created only for your use. Do that. Coming to today's talk, Read and Grow, which is very, very important subject which we will be discussing. The book which has been chosen, after careful analysis, the books are chosen by the person who is responsible for this evening's host, actually, Richer, Wiser, Happier, How the World's Greatest Investors Win in Market and Life by William Green. And ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the distinguished panelists for this evening. Mr. Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh, business leadership coach, speaker, author, independent director of IAB, and she'll be leading the conversation with Mr. Bhavani Asrani, and head of people experience, lifestyle housing and infrastructure, and Mr. Srikanth Srinivasan, country head of India Assurance. Ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to our distinguished panelists for this evening, and I'm quite sure with Sangeeta being there, and it's going to be a very, very interesting evening. Let me have the privilege of introducing the distinguished panelists and Sangeeta Sumesh Sharma. Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh is called business leadership coach, speaker, author, independent director, as I mentioned to you earlier, and she's a leadership and lifestyle coach. And Sangeeta is a chartered accountant, management accountant, completed executive education Harvard Business School. It's a high performance business coach and International Coaching Federation and TEDx speaker. And our accolades include Nightingale Award by the Society of Auditors, Leading Woman Chief Financial Officer Innovator in Finance, Award of 100 Inspiring Author of India, Outstanding Professional Award by FICCI. And very warm welcome to Sangeeta. It's a pleasure. She's the one who drives this event, and she's the one who conceptualized when we put together a couple of years ago, which is very popular. Week after week, month after month, they select a good subject only for the benefit of us. Thank you, Sangeeta, for your support. The MMA, we are indeed really, really obliged and really looking forward to your continued support. Let me have the privilege of introducing Bhavana Asrani. Bhavana is head people experience, lifestyle housing and infrastructure. She is a professional with over 16 years of experience in strategic planning and organizational development, in an expert in managing full spectrum of human resources. Currently, she is a part of the core team of head of the people functions at the luxurious and leading real estate group in Chennai, Lifestyle Housing. Anybody want to buy a house? You can connect with her straight away. She is a keynote speaker and has been a part of several forums, panels, seminars. Excuse me, sir? Okay, no problem. He's talking to himself, that's fine. In her recent passion towards taking initiative towards making the planet greener and cleaner, she is a budding environmentalist, getting herself involved and engaged with nature. These days, she loves to talk about leadership lessons and nature. She was also previously associated with RWD Private Limited, SGSA India Private Limited, and also Oracle Ericsson. Very warm welcome to you, Bhavana. It's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. Let me have the pleasure of introducing another great gentleman, great leader, Srikanth Srinivasan, country head India Assurance. Srikanth Srinivasan is the country head of India Assurance, and in his over 3 decades of work experience in the Indian automotive industry, covering both manufacturing and service sector, Sri has worked his way up the different functions, wearing multiple hats. Prior to Assurance, Sri was in a part of TVS Group and the warranty group of JV TVS, which has held 24/7 roadside assistance, automotive extended warranty. And you know, TVS is known for perfection. Sri is a graduate of applied science and with postgraduate in business administration. Before that way, he's online and doing that, and that is what makes a great leader to do what is expected out of the organization. Once again, very, very warm welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen. There are a big round of applause. We are eagerly looking forward to a great evening. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, so the book for this month, Richer, Wiser, Happier. Now, let me give you a little background to this. This book was actually gifted to me by a client of mine. I mean, I did a workshop, so all the participants were given this book, and of course, by default, they gave me as well. So the moment I saw this book, I was wondering, I was like, what is this Richer, Wiser, Happier? Then out of curiosity, I said, okay, let me just read through, because I was told it's a very good book. And I hadn't heard about it till then. And that's when I realized it was fairly new. The book is quite recent. And when I checked the reviews on Amazon, it had very good reviews. So it got me interested, out of curiosity, I started reading this book. And I was totally floored when I read the first chapter. And I'm going to take you through that as well. So then I realized, I said, is there anybody who doesn't want to be richer, wiser, or happier? All of us want that, right? So I said, okay, this will be a great book for the Read and Grow session, and that's why it prompted me to choose this book. So this book, like Group Captain said, it talks about the secrets of successful investors. in the US, both successful investors, famous investors, and few investors whose names even I haven't heard, right? So it gives a lot of insights, not just into investing, but also how to lead happier lives, right? And a whole range of the human aspect is also covered. So in fact, probably that was the reason I got attracted towards this book, considering my finance background and the fact that I'm a business and leadership coach, which involves the human aspects. I thought this book has a great blend of two, the financial aspects as well as the human aspects. So that is what I liked. And of course, it shares a lot of practical tips and valuable principles, investing principles that one can follow. So to give you the gist of the book, the common message that all these investors shared, I'll just sum them up to start with. They say buy cheap, which we know, but buy at an attractive price, right? Because that's when you actually reap better profits. The second message they've given is to have a good margin of safety. Now, almost all the investors whom the author has interviewed speak about the margin of safety, which is nothing but the gap between the price and the value. Then another important aspect, the human aspect which they bring in is do not let emotions come in the way of investing. And they also talk about the importance of patience and resilience. The fourth common message is all these investors, they ensure they have time for themselves. Why? Because they want to read and think about the performance of different companies. The fifth thing, a common message, it's important to follow, is that spend less than what you earn. The next message is to stay long in the game because that's when your profits tend to grow. And of course, another known thing on diversification. Diversify your portfolio as much as possible, different markets, industries, different funds, assets, geographies, etc. So this is the prime message most of these successful investors share with us. Is there something I didn't like about the book? Not really, but all these messages, they seemed repetitive, which is in a way good also because it ingrains better in ourselves. But it was like a parrot saying the same thing, same message in different words. And also I felt somewhere the human behavior was kind of forcefully linked with the investing aspect. But that apart, I think the book is brilliant, especially if you want to learn and grow your stock market, your investing, and learning it from the successful people like be it Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger and different other successful people. So the first chapter that I told you that really, I thought was very, very interesting was it talks about the man who cloned Warren Buffett. So it's an Indian by name Monish Pabrai who went from India to California, and he's an investor cum philanthropist. What did he want? He wanted to turn the $1 million that he had into $1 billion. And how did he want to do it? Because he understood the power of compounding. And Warren Buffett was his role model. So Monish felt he doesn't have to reinvent the whole wheel, right? Because he said, I can just copy what these successful people have done and just build on it, build and borrow on the smart ideas of successful investors. So instead of struggling to innovate and, do everything over and over again, Monish decided I might as well focus my energies on replicating what these smart and wise people have done. And therefore, he used the power of reverse engineering it. And that is what drove him to success. He says, I clone ideas that are worthwhile. He also says, sometimes as humans, we are very weird in our DNA because there's something that prohibits us from copying these ideas. So he says, why not? They are successful, so why can't we adapt it and tune it to our requirements and be successful like others? So his mantra was like, he said, I will focus just on 10 stocks. That's all his portfolio consisted. And he would sift through the stocks, all the stocks, and his logic was, I will say no to a lot of them. So how does one say no? So he has a good checklist for it. He says, does this fall within my circle of competence? Is the business something that I truly understand? Is there significant margin of safety? Will it offer me a double or triple returns? If not, I'm going to reject it. And the financial statements, are they simple and clear? So this was his checklist. And he says, I would just go by this. And therefore, it was easy for me to say no to a lot of stocks. So none of his ideas were original. And for him, he says, will it work or not? So that was his, mantra. And he also said, whom do I clone? What are the winning habits of successful people that I need to clone? So he always was, focused on these aspects. And his mantras were clone like crazy. Hang out with people who are better than you so that you become better as well. Treat life as a game. Be in alignment with who you are. And live by your inner scorecard and don't just be carried away by what others think of you. So he says, take a simple idea, but take it seriously. Then the author moves on to share the wisdom from Sir John Templeton. And in that he says, great investors, they are not overly influenced by other people. They are thinking originally and it's all their thought process. And a lot of these successful investors, they tend to be lonely. He says even in sports, they would probably be playing individual sports rather than a team sport. And Templeton's guiding investing principles was, he says, beware of emotions. Do not be careless. Beware of your ignorance and be diligent. Diversify broadly. Successful investing requires a lot of patience and find good bargains, and investors do not have to chase fads. So these were his investing principles. And one thing I really liked was he was distrustful of debt, right? So he always used to pay cash. He never used to take loans. He used to pay cash for both his homes and cars. I thought that was a good difference from what a lot of us do, right? And from yesteryears to now, it's a big change in how now we rely on credit cards and loans very often. So that was one thing I liked. And he also believed that we are all temporary stewards of God's wealth. He says it all belongs to the God and we are only temporary. And how did he manage his mind? This was also something interesting. He says, banish negative thoughts. And if you're faced with negative thoughts, he would replace and he would give a lot of thanks, the power of gratitude, which we know. And he says, whatever challenge that comes across my way, this is here to bless me. And he eradicated thoughts that were aimless, that did not serve him. I thought that was very, very powerful. And it will be great if all of us follow it, whether we are doing investing or not. I thought this is a great mantra to follow. Then author goes on to share the wisdom from Howard Marks. And he says, everything changes. So be like water. Water takes the shape of the vessel that it contains. So be mindful of that. And the investing themes of Howard Marks was that he says we can't predict or control the future. So study patterns of the past and take them as a reference point for your future. And he says the need to be humble and prudence is very important for financial success in the long term. Then he talks about being resilient and gives the example of Warren Buffett again. And he says his company was never dependent on the kindness of strangers or friends. And therefore, as an investing company, they always had a lot of cash reserve. Because he says a dangerous blunder that many investors tend to do is they assume that the period ahead will resemble the period that went by, whatever was your experience. So you tend to think that way. So the 5 rules for being resilient, he says, respect uncertainty. To achieve resilience, avoid debt, avoid leverage, and excessive expenses. Do not be dependent on the kindness of strangers. Beware of being overconfident and complacent. Be shock resistant. And be aware of the exposure of the risk and keep the margin of safety. Like you notice, margin of safety and emotions keep coming up again and again. Another key message the book gives is on simplicity, to keep everything simple. And he talks about Buffett's way of keeping simplicity in selecting the stock. So what was his mantra? So Warren says, I only look for businesses that I understand and that has a long-term prospect. And it has to be operated. The business needs to be operated by honest and competent people. And of course, the price needs to be attractive. Will Danoff, another investor, what was his secret sauce? This is a very good one as well. He says if a company doubles its EPS, that is earning per share, in the next 5 years, he believes the stock price will also double. And he gives the example of Starbucks. Then he talks about Grenblatt's magic formula. What is that? He says stick to buying good companies that have a high return on capital and buy them at bargainable prices. He also says that no strategy works all the time, but have an ideal strategy that you can stick with even during challenging times. So Grenblatt's 4 simple lessons. What is that? He says, have a sensible strategy that's good enough to achieve your financial goals, and therefore it's important to have your financial goals. Strategy should be simple, logical, that you can stick with even in difficult times. Check if you have the skills and the temperament to beat the market, and you can be rich and a successful investor without attempting to beat the market, because many times we're always looking to beat the market. So he says that's not really necessary. And then another investor talks about having a long shelf life of the stocks that you want to retain over the long period. So what are those? He says pursue quality, the quality of the business, the quality of the principles in business, investing and life. So quality, he says, is key. And then have a lot of focus. Scale economies, right? And he says, because scaled economies that are shared creates a virtuous cycle and creates sustained wealth over long periods. It's not necessary that you have to be unethical to be successful. And another important aspect of this is, he says, tremendous advantage can be gained by those who move consistently by deferring gratification. In this age of instant gratification, he says, learn to defer your gratification. Then comes on high performance habits, and this resonates a lot with me as a coach. So this wisdom comes from an investor called Tom Gaynor. So his principles were he says, the secret is to see that you get a little better than you were yesterday in all aspects, right? As an individual as well as from an investing perspective, which is what high performance is all about. You get better in whatever you're doing. He says, go ahead and make mistakes, but ensure they're not fatal. Forget about perfection, just focus on progression and compound your improvements, because that's when you keep growing further. Then from a coaching perspective, I really loved this about another investor who tends to reflect a lot. He says, what am I missing? Who is doing what that no one else is doing? And what can I do and how can I get better? So he says, learn and adapt yourself and modify your own process till you arrive at what works for you. Then I must also mention this. He talks about only one lady successful investor, right? Her name is Laura Gritz, and she dares to be different. She actually travels to different places and buys there and buys stocks in countries that have been hit, so that when they rebound, it grows, and thereby the profitability grows. And to be healthier and happier, he says, decide what you care the most about and adapt these daily habits so that you get better, and subtract habits that divert your attention. Importantly, he says, compile a do not do list so that you know how to prioritize what matters. And then a very important thing is the wisdom from Charles Munger. He's 98 years old, and the author says Charlie Munger is the grand master of stupidity reduction, because he just avoids the common errors and the predictable patterns, and he says, I only look at what works. So he says, I take a lot of safeguard against stupidity. So he says, imagine a dreadful outcome. Work backwards by asking yourself, what misguided actions might lead to this sorry state of affairs, and scrupulously avoid them and your self-destructive behavior. So he kind of works backward on this entire thing, and he has a practical checklist of pitfalls that you need to avoid. And he says hunger, anger, loneliness, tiredness, pain and stress are common preconditions for poor decision making. So what is the antidote to it? He says meditation, exercise, sleep and nutrition will help your brain to function better. So he says go ahead for these. So in conclusion, he says, what makes a person rich? What does the wealth actually mean for these investors? If physical riches are not the key to true abundance, what is really richness? So one of the investors says, the time you spend with your family is what is very important. He's 109 years old, by the way. And even when he's been 100 years old, he rides a bus to work. Can you imagine such a successful investor at the age of 100 taking a bus to work? So, those are like very important life lessons that I thought. And he says he always sets aside a heavy cash reserve, even though it may not make him a lot of money. He says, I have that because I can avoid, anything during times of trouble. So he says a lot of investors, they tend to mess up. They have been unlucky, but that's still fine. You have to stick long time in the game. And he also talks about Van Dieberg. The author says he liked him a lot. He had a terrible childhood during his growing up years, and how he kind of overcame his struggles. He was part of the Nazi thing, and how his life was saved, how he set well-defined goals. He did a lot of visualization, affirmations, and he's a big philanthropist now, right? And how he was able to overcome his fears, and that story is actually quite heart-touching. And this guy, Van, says, I'm the richest guy in the world because I'm content with what I have. So he says the most important thing is people need love. The less of love they have, the more they need material things. So Van has also, most of them are philanthropists as well, like I said in the beginning. So his favorite cause is a residential treatment center for abused and neglected children. Considering that he came from a similar background, that's what he did. So to conclude, I would say the book has a lot of wisdom, and it would be great if they can be implemented if you're serious about stock market. And if you want to be a player in the stock market, then definitely this is a must-read book for you. There are a lot of hows that were not answered, like, for example, what is a fair price, how to control emotions. I thought, those can be deep dived into a little better, but I guess the author has left it to the imagination of the reader. So to sum it up, this is what, these were some of the points that stood out for me from the book. Now, let's move on to the panelists. Let's see what is the wisdom that they would like to share. What are their thoughts on the book? So let's move. Bhavna, what is your opinion of the book? What stood out for you, and is there anything you disliked about the book, because you're a HR professional? So what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Sangeeta, and thank you, the members of Management Association, for a warm welcome. Good evening, everybody here. The book, Richer, Wiser and Happier, by William Green. This book talks about 8 super investors who won in markets and in life. The relationship between, we will be assuming why these both are well connected. I mean, markets is entirely about being greedy, selfish and all that. Human side, it's more of being, grounded. How come both are connected? In fact, the successful people have both in them together. So the book is really a good one, from Monish Pobrai to Charlie Munger. One point which really stood out for me is where one of them, the Tom Gaynor, he says that my father is richest because he felt he had enough. So this is more on contentment. When few days back I came up with something called something on simplicity, which is simplicity is just being simply simple and simply content. And this part of it, I was easily able to relate here. All the investors are very simple. They are very content, which had taken them to greater heights. And on the whole, I feel richer, wiser, and happier is a bundle of prosperity. You know, being rich does not mean you have to be prosperous. Haven't we seen, people lose on health? Haven't we seen people in the hospitals who are suffering, also having a lot of money? Haven't we seen people whose relationships with their own children are not good? Haven't we seen people who have everything but they do not get sleep? So it's all about being content and being prosperous. So on the whole, I would sum up that, it is more of being prosperous, and richer is one part of the prosperity. The first part of prosperity is accumulating wealth. What you do after accumulating wealth is that which can make you rich, which can make you more richer, more wiser, and more happier. So in a nutshell, I think it's more about prosperity. I think we should all look at becoming more prosperous than just becoming rich.
Yes, beautiful. I think abundance also, that's what appears to me when you say prosperity. Yeah. Is there anything you disliked about the book?
I don't think I disliked anything, but as you said, a lot of points are repeated. But I feel the human nature is so that, we are in a age of Kalyug, we say, where we have to keep repeating, keep talking, keep saying, only then it gets registered. So I think, William Green must have also thought about this, that, we'll have to keep repeating, keep saying, so that when he does his 100%, I think the takeaway from us will be 80%.
Sure, thank you. Shrikant, over to you. So what do you think is the essence of the book? What is your key takeaway, and what your thoughts on the book?
All right. So at the outset, thank you, Sangeeta, for having me here. Thank you, Bhavana, for joining. And Captain Vijay Kumar, Captain Venkatraman, Team MMA, and friends. Really, you are spending this time with us, and hopefully we'll try to give, at the end, whether you are becoming richer or wiser, definitely you will be happier. So, okay, to take my thought, of course, I don't want to repeat. It's very difficult to really do justice after two wonderful ladies have done the part. So, let me try to put a little tangentially from my end. Why did he keep us richer, wiser, happier? Why not happier, wiser, and richer? So, maybe the ultimate goal is to be happy, right? Yes. So, that's the flow I see. So, I would say that maybe the end goal is happier. And definitely in this world, we definitely need money. How to make that money in the right way? And multiple ways are there. Everybody can't start a business. So can you own a part of the business, a good business? I think that's the real key here. Because the moment you buy a stock, you are buying a small part of that company. You should really understand that part very clearly. So I am not neither a stock guru. Maybe in the later, if there is an opportunity, I'll share how bad investor I was. So so my thought here is in terms of trying to take a share, you have to be really careful in terms of investing. So to put it in an essence, it's very difficult. Maybe I would say invest right and sit tight. In the sense like you invest rightly and then sit tight in the sense for long period. That's actually the kind of people you have seen there are really having long years. Warren Buffett, Charles Munger, and even Monish is a couple of years senior to me. I find a lot of people who are, so there is no overnight success. That's very, very clearly coming out for me in terms of this book. So, and of course, she has already said in terms of the compounding. Compounding, you have to give that time for compounding to happen. You cannot. I'll also give an example of how I missed it. and in indirectly how I got benefited from wise action of someone else in the family.
Sure, waiting to hear that, yeah. So, Bhavna, as a HR professional, what would be your tips? You know, the book talks about the ego coming in the way. Remember, like I was saying, you know, if you have to replicate it, the human mind is that, you know, oh, I know I'm better. Like, you know, that's the ego coming. So, how can one avoid the ego and replicate the success of successful investors?
A good question. I will share my own story on how shedding the ego has helped me to be where I am today. I was a typical housewife in my early years. I didn't know anything about profession. I did not have any social circle who could also tell me that, you know, you'll have to go for a job, or, you know, having studied, you're sitting at home. A very happy and content life with children, family, and things like that. But somehow, one point of time, as children started growing, I felt I should be doing something. And I couldn't talk about this to anybody in the family because the family doesn't have any working women and they do not encourage any working women at that point of time. So I picked up the courage to talk to one of my school friend, and that was, you know, after so many years, I didn't know whose door to knock, but I just called her up, not thinking anything. If I had ego that day, that no, why should I talk to my friend who is now, you know, on a very respectable position, and I being the same age, I am sitting at home and taking care of my children. I shed the ego and I spoke to her. The very next minute she said, I have something in Chennai. She was in Bangalore that time, and she said, I have something in Chennai, and once I come in, we will discuss on this. And from then on, the journey started. I will definitely take a moment to thank her in this forum, the gratitude that I have for her. She's Miss Meera Venkat, and she's the president of Race Global. So had I had the ego at that time, I wouldn't have scaled up, I wouldn't have stepped up at all. So I think ego is something which we need to shed, and we'll have to be very, very simple beings. In fact, you know, last week or so, one of my ex-colleague who's more experienced than me, she just called me and she said, I think I need to improve my communication. Will you be able to help me? She's more experienced than me, but she wants to help me in her communication. How much of ego she would have shed to come and approach me. So in fact, I said, you know, this is something which I have to give back to the society. Somebody has helped me. I also want to help someone to grow in their career, in their life. So I have started sessions for her late evening because I go to the office, I am back only by 8 o'clock. As soon as I am back by 8:15, we have a session. So it is about being open to learning in terms, when it is ego, you'll have to shed the ego. And ego is not something which is there in someone and which is not there in someone. All these qualities are always there in someone. Only thing is we should know how to respond to this. I'll also tell you an activity. If I give each of you a balloon, okay, you blow the balloon, you tie a knot to the balloon, you write your name on the balloon, and all of you go and put your balloons probably in the boardroom. So I think we'll have 50 balloons. After some time, the instruction is, please go pick up your balloon and come back here to the same room. Isn't it not going to be difficult to find your balloon among all the 50? Yes. If you have to find your balloon among 50, it's going to be difficult. One of the students says that, ma'am, can I take any balloon which comes to me and can I hand it over to that person? Can I hand it over to the owner of that balloon because the name is written? Does not this activity become simple and easy? So it's also about it's not about me and myself. It's also about the other person, how we help the other person. How much of gratitude we have for the community. We are living in a community, the dress we wear, the car we travel, nothing has been done by us. There is one community which is working. We cannot live alone. So we will have to shed the kind of egos that we have. I will also tell you one fantasy story where I think you all should be knowing about the sculpture story. The sculptor who, does the statues, and all the statues look very real. So in his lifetime, he had done some 13 statues. And he's a very intelligent, he believes that nobody can be like him. He says, it's me, my statue. So when the angel of death comes, he knows the angel of death has come. What he quietly does is, because all his statues look real, there are 13 statues, he goes and stands in one among the statues, so that the angel of death does not realize who the real sculpture is, and takes away a statue. So the angel of death knows that his weakness is his ego. If I say that statues, one hand is smaller, one hand is bigger, or if I say the nose is blunt, he will quickly get angry and she will know that who the real one is. So she did the same way. She said the same thing, and the sculptor got quickly angry, saying, "How can you say this? I am a perfectionist. How can you say that?" So he had to be caught in the hands of death. So ego kills. I think the takeaway from all this is ego will be there with us. We should know how to handle ego. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Lovely examples you gave, Bhavna. 3 very good examples on ego. Yes, amazing. Yeah. Shrikant, one question for you. So, like I said, the common message in the book is, buy at a fair price, buy at an attractive price, good bargain. While definitely I agree to this and subscribe to this idea, what is a fair price? And I mean, how does one arrive? Now, if I have to buy something now, how do I know it's an attractive price or not? How do I know the stock is going to escalate? So, any thoughts on that?
If only I had a right answer for that, I would have really invested and made a lot of money. So that's definitely a challenge. So from the book, I think what I understand they are saying is, don't have greediness and try to buy cheap. For example, if you have a option to do a price earning analysis, you do. Or if you want to outsource that activity to somebody and gain that knowledge, it's not that everything you have to do that. And possibly compare in terms of what is going to be the future earnings. It's one of the investors have done that in terms of discounting that and see how much is going to be the present. Compare with the industry other players. Where are they? Where are you? Is it a long-term journey? And so it's a multiple factor. And whether the price is really driven by the earnings, because one thumb of the rule I really like that in the book is it says that the stock price follows the earnings.
Yes, it's an important one.
I think that's a splendid point. You will always see that you will not go wrong. Always, I can't exactly recollect, but then something similar to what I'm going to say. I read it a couple of years back. Always see a man with a dog walking, right? So at times man will pull the dog, at times dog will pull the man. They'll go zigzag and all that. But at the end of the day, you always see the dog and the man together. That's exactly the market and the business.
Nice.
Right. So they don't go separate. Right. So, and if you look back, the history has already told us from about the BSE and NSE index where we are now, it's obviously. So I have not answered you still in terms of how to do. There are one ways. Okay, I'll give you one example, recent examples. When the pandemic hit in 2020, March 2020, there are a lot of stocks which really fell. The value completely dropped. Right. So you can easily know that this is like a dead cheap. You go and buy a Louis Philippe shirt or something or a sari for a 50% discount. Stop that. Really look for some shares. It's coming at 50% discount. No one is putting the sale board on you. That's it. So to do that, you need to have some surplus cash on hand. Because what will you do? You have about 10 lakhs. You put entire 10 lakhs in the market. It has come to 1 lakh. where will you put additional money? So that's exactly the safety factor which you already explained. You have at least 2 lakhs. Use the 2 lakhs to put, buy cheap, average it out. So it's a consistent. If the exact answer I don't have, if only I had, I wouldn't be sitting here. Maybe I'll be in that book by William Green.
Lovely, lovely. Yes, super. Nice ones. Thank you. So, Bhavna, in the book, I think Charlie Munger says, I know anger is stupid. Resentment is stupid. Self-pity is stupid. So I don't do them. I'm trying not to be stupid every day. So from your experience, again, you know, from a human perspective, anger, all of us succumb to anger. So how can one keep anger and resentment at bay?
Okay. Anger is just one letter away from danger. Okay? Even the doctors, the medical people have said that if you go for a checkup and if you have BP, they say, what, do you get angry? That's how it is. So it poisons the system. So we'll have to keep anger at bay. It has some behavioral and physical aspects to this, which affects both of these. And I'll give you a small example to say that how, with example I will show you that how behavioral and physical aspects change. And anger majorly is of 2 types. One, people provoke the anger, and the other is situation based. I'll give one example of people provoked anger. So Sangeeta, I think I'll need your help for the same.
Sure.
So
probably my smile will disappear and I'll become angry.
Yeah. So you'll have to ask me, are you angry with me, Bhavna?
Are you angry with me,
And
Bhavna?
you'll have to keep asking me. Yes.
Are you angry with me, Bhavna?
I generally don't get angry, Sangeeta.
Okay. But are you angry with me?
I generally don't get angry, Sangeeta.
I feel you're angry with me.
No, Sangeeta, I generally don't. You can ask anybody here. They will all tell you, I generally don't get angry, Sangeeta.
But I still think you're angry with me.
I think you're wasting your time, Sangeeta. I generally don't get angry.
Bhavna, you didn't smile when you saw me. So I still think you are angry with me.
I don't think, Sangeeta. I think there's something going on in your mind. I generally don't get angry,
because
Sangeeta.
Because your behavior was like, you know, that you are angry with me.
I generally don't get angry, Sangeeta.
Yeah, generally you don't, but maybe this is an exception.
Sangeeta, I generally don't get angry, Sangeeta.
I can see some anger coming out now, Bhavna.
Sangeeta, that's what I'm telling you, that I don't get angry, Sangeeta.
No, you are angry with me.
Sangeeta, I generally don't get angry.
No. You are angry.
Sangeeta, can you just stop it here?
See, you're angry with me. I told you, I knew it.
So, this is one activity where we...
The mic will come to me or not?
No, I generally don't get angry. Yeah. So this activity shows how people provoke anger in us. And here, when people provoke anger, we'll have to be responsive, not reactive. Maybe in second or third, when she kept repeating, I would have politely told her, Sangeeta, I think you're up to something. I generally don't get angry, so don't give it a try on me. Okay? So, despite saying that I don't generally get angry, but actually my body language, my speech, my tone, my behavior, everything showed that I am angry. So, this is one part of it. And other part of it is a situation based, where we, as human beings, we will definitely get angry. So we'll see how this goes about. So I'll take again, because Sangeeta is a good friend of mine and I know her for a few years, I am taking Sangeeta as my co-activity partner. So Sangeeta and I, today, we had been to Chennai Diamonds. Okay, Sangeeta had bought 20 diamonds and I bought 10 diamonds. And we were rushing to come here. As we were getting late, we quickly bought and we wanted to rush and come. It was Sangeeta's car. Sangeeta was driving the car. And there was a lot of traffic on the way. And we were rushing because we didn't want all of you all to wait. So we were rushing to come, but there was so much of traffic. So Sangeeta said, I think we'll take some twists and turns in the inner roads and we'll reach fast. So she did so. She changed the map. She went inside the streets which are very lonely. Inside the lonely street, there's one group of people who come. They stop the car. They hit the window of Sangeeta's car and they say, I know you have diamonds. Okay, we have been following you from Chennai Diamonds at Annanagar. And I know you have diamonds, you better give it to me. Sangeeta, being such a close friend, I trust her so much. You know what she said? Hey, I don't have any diamonds. This lady is sitting next to me, she has diamonds. Please go take it from her. The group of people quickly come to my side of the window. They quickly break the window. I got so scared. I pulled my pouch and I gave it to those people there. And I got so angry with Sangeeta. I just moved. I didn't talk to her. I just moved away. I took a cab and I went home. Now, is Sangeeta a good or bad friend? To you, she's good. To me, she's bad. Because she's cheated on me.
No, but I split the diamonds.
Sorry to say. Maybe I was thinking, she had 20, you had 10. So maybe she feels that your 10 can go, she can give the 10
so
to
I'm
you.
Coming to that. Before
it's
that
averaging the price now.
Correct. So immediately, so this is a situation based one where we quickly get angry thinking this is the genuinity of the situation. But when I reach home, the entire way when I come back, I'm crying also, I'm getting angry also, I don't know what to do. I just want to come home, I want to put off the lights and I want to go to sleep. I came home, I'm seeing Sangeeta sitting on the sofa. And she comes and gives me 10 of her diamonds, saying that this was a strategy that I applied to get rid of these people so that at least we have something to share. So she gives that a pouch of 10 diamonds to me and 10 diamonds she keeps to herself.
Minimizing losses.
Yeah. So when we don't know the genuinity of the situation, how we have reacted? We have reacted very differently, very harshly. Though she is a close friend of mine, I did not even think for a moment that she would have applied this kind of a strategy. So here in such situational anger, we'll have to be mindful. In the former one, we'll have to be responsive. In such situations where there is really a genuine reason for us to get angry, we'll have to be mindful. I should have thought that she's a good close friend of mine. Why is she doing this? There should be some reason to it. So, finally, Sangeeta, you won.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We won with the diamonds. We'll share with you also. Okay, yeah. So, Shrikant, to you. In the book, Grenblatt, he talks about your strategy should be simple and logical so that you can stick with it even in difficult times. Now, I was wondering, can you replicate this simplicity concept of simple strategy in a business as well?
Okay. I think I would say that I have part of Greenblatt and also a part of Monish, I would say I will apply. Okay. Because I think simple always is very clear. We don't have to think in complex, obviously. And what we are not able to understand, I think we should not dwell more. That's one. The other one, what I really liked was, I forgot the name, in terms of inverting that position. Like, for example, they say that what can actually go wrong, instead of trying to look at what can go as a successful, look at what can actually go wrong, and those situations try to invert yourself and say that hope we are not doing those things. So to keep it simple. So that's one. In terms of the cloning with Monish, I think two of the businesses which I developed was only from that in terms of
Wow.
the roadside assistance which I did as well as the extended warranty. It was not my thought. It was just taken from the thoughts outside of India and brought into India and trying to do that. Trying to keep things simple. We went on a light asset light model. So I think I would say that yes, simple works. Especially if you are not too very intelligent, you don't have the Einstein's EQ, better to follow the simple way of life.
Yes, I think lovely. Yeah, that's what I felt too, that, those concepts can be applied in anything and everything, because when you keep it simple, your life is a lot easier and you avoid complexity, right? Awesome. So Bhavna, over to you again. We spoke about the instant gratification and deferring the gratification. So since there are a lot of youngsters here, what would be your message to them in this day and age of instant gratification?
Yes, instant gratification is very common, especially among the youngsters. And in today's age, where the youngsters feel that they know better than parents, so this has become a little more difficult as well. And because of this attitude that the youngsters carry, they can also get into wrong decisions as well. I know a neighbor of mine who was writing, who's a good student. In 10th, she scored good marks. In 12th, she scored good marks. She's a biology student. She wanted to aim for medical. And she had to write. She was going for NEET classes. While she was going for NEET classes, most of the professors knew that she is intelligent and gave her a little more importance. So one professor said, I think you will be a rank holder. Another professor said, I know you will get through it so easily. And definitely her parents also, even at home, everybody knows that she's a good student, and nobody thought that the life could take otherwise for her. So what happened was, this instant gratification affected her. The instant happiness that she got. So what she did, she really thought, she kept thinking that yes, I am good. Why should I study? I know everything. Overconfidence. I know everything. When exam comes, that time I will study. That 1 week I will study, that is enough. Because I know the entire book. What happened? She couldn't get through. The result of this is loss of time, loss of money, and the feel that I have lost. So this is one thing, and this is a general mentality. I have seen, the people who are coming first, they also, they generally have that attitude. If you see, they don't mingle with the entire class. So such kind of this instant gratification, I think youngsters should understand that, should be conscious on this, that this could be temporary. I should keep doing it. I should keep working hard. I should keep reading. I should keep studying. I'll also tell you another thing which happened recently. There was another girl who got a job, and before she got a job, she had few offers. I mean, today's children, I know, they just don't go apply to one company. They want to have at least 3 offers in hand and then decide what is good for me.
And moonlight also.
Pardon?
And moonlight.
Yeah, correct. So this child was having, she had filtered to 3 jobs in hand. From there, she had filtered to 2 jobs in hand. The 2 jobs, the companies were, one was a mediocre company, one was a big company. The salary was the same. But the big company was giving her the joining bonus. Many of her friends joined the big company. This was a campus interview. So many of the friends joined the big company, and she was also getting carried away by the same. However, what she did is she spoke to her parents. She spoke to her neighbors. She spoke to her uncles, aunts about this, on what to do. So finally she decided, taking the advice of her parents and all the other seniors and elders in the family, they all told her, you go for a mediocre thing, because later you'll have to get married. I know this company is good and they support. Later maybe there is some maternity. I know the culture is really good and they accommodate beautiful flexible timings also. So please take that. It's okay to let go of that joining bonus. She was not so convinced about this, but just because she knows that if my parents say something like this, it is good for me. Sometimes you'll have to blindly trust your parents on this. So she took this, which is a mediocre company with no joining bonus. And for few months, she had a slight regret in the mind, saying, my mama doesn't know anything. My papa doesn't know anything. They don't know the outside world. I could have taken that. See, all my friends are enjoying with that joining bonus. After few months, what happened? It was just 3 or 4 months that there was a layoff which happened in that big company. This is a real thing which I am sharing, which has recently happened. So what happened to the joining bonus? It's not that we don't have to join big companies, but we'll have to take some informed decisions, keeping our parents also involved into this. So this is one thing on instant gratification, my message to all the youngsters and also all the adults, because even adults are prone to this, to please take care of this instant happiness which comes, take informed decisions, choose the right path, talk to people, take right decisions which will guide you the right way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice share, Bhavna. So I think we'll have time for one more question. So Shrikant, to you. So the book, like I said, talks about this dangerous blunder that investors do because they assume the period ahead will be similar to the past period. So have you experienced something like this, or do you know anybody who's encountered such a situation? How does one tackle this? Because the human mind is programmed in such a way, right? We think everything is permanent. If this happened, this will happen now also. So what are your thoughts?
Sangeeta, I have a practical experience to share here. Maybe I have to take all of you about 32 years back when I was about 23 years. No, now you know my age is 55. That's fine. So it was between the 90 and 93. That was my first job. And all young, didn't know anything. All I know was how to get rich quick. So, so I invested in stock without even knowing what is the spelling of that. That's exactly when, if most of you will know, that's when the Harshit Mehta was playing the market. That's the exact period. I was working in Bangalore. I had no clue about this gentleman, what was happening. All I was looking at, okay, the market is good, the past experience is good. I have invested $1,000, it has become 2,000. I'll invest 5,000. I predicted it went on. Not only me, a lot of people did that. So at that point of time, I think, if my memory is right, about 50,000 rupees I invested.
That must have been a lot of money.
That's why my 5-year salary at 1,000 rupees per month into 12 into 5. So what did I do? The first mistake, completely the safety was taken off, A, B. And where did I get that money? The only person who can give is my father. So I borrowed money from him, which is a big mistake. You should never do that. Don't do that. You should never do. Till today, he is 86 years old. He only remembers the mistake I did. I have given multiple times of that, but still 50,000 rupees you lost in 92. That is only because of predicting. Looking at back, I think I thought it will go. So that's a personal experience. On this note, I'll also mention about one thing which really I missed, because if bad times never come alone, right? So this broker who said that, okay, this young guy who has really lost so much money, he finally said, 93 around that, he said, okay, just give 10,000 rupees, just 10,000 rupees. I'll give you 100 shares of a company, information system, it is called Infosys. I think I'll give you that. and keep it with you. It will go definitely up to 1 lakh. He only predicted 1 lakh. Right. So there was no money. All I got was stick from my father. He said, enough of your Bangalore, come back here. So I returned, came back. Today, Google says, if I had kept that 100 shares of 10,000 rupees, you can Google it today, today's value, because of stock split and bonuses, it is 1 lakh shares. Multiplied by today's rate of 1,600 is 16 crore rupees. I didn't do that. There's a lot of people did that. So I think with that note, maybe. Vada poche. Yes, exactly. That's true.
Yes, 16 crores. Yeah. Yes, of course, the power of compounding.
Absolutely.
That's why they say play long.
I really believe that. And on a personal note, I also had an opportunity where my father-in-law didn't know anything about. He had invested when my wife was born in 1974 in a leading NBFC with just about 1,000 rupees, which went 400 times in 40 years.
Wow.
That's 10 times every year.
So your
because
wife is richer than you.
Obviously, I don't mind that. So, but the point is, he didn't know anything about stock, nothing. He bought cheap, he did that compounding, sit tight, that's all. I think at times,
Excellent.
God decides to help you, he can help you in any way. Right.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, like amazing share by both of you. Thank you so much. We are open to questions. Anybody, any question to any of the panelists? Yes. Yeah, I think we will share. And also online, if there are any questions, open to that also. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists. It was a mind-blowing sessions, and there are a lot of lessons in this discussions, and we gained actually. My question is, you talked about the fair value price of the stock markets. Who decides the fair value price? Whether it's the market, or whether it's the stakeholders, or whether it's a company intrinsic value, what decides the fair price?
I think maybe you are the well-qualified chartered accountant here.
Okay, great question. I think it's the demand and supply. So I think those are the driving factors. So if there are too many people buying it, obviously the demand is going to go high, and it's a matter of demand and supply. So there is no thumb rule to say this is the fair price. So that was why I had asked Srikanth also at the beginning, the first question to him was that, like, what is the fair price? So in answering it to in your context of question is, I think it's driven by demand and supply, and of course other market factors. It could be like the global market, could be a Ukraine crisis, for example, or so any other external factor or industry specific. If the market is being hit by anything, if it relies too much on agriculture, and let's say there hasn't been too much rain, again that impacts. So I think it's a host of different factors, but if I were to bring it to the crux, I think it is demand and supply. Welcome.
Just answering his question.
Yeah.
I am the market last 30 years. There is no pain without gain.
Yes, no pain, no gain.
No gain. See, when the market is distressed only, you have to buy. For that, I just tell you, you can see industry P and company P. That will be a better action to look into the purchase time. So, can I take 1 minute?
Sure.
See, if you see last year low and this year low, the stock will go to the last year PE and this year PE, it will be higher. You think that it will come to the last year low, but it won't come. From that place, it will take to next level. We see only the numbers, but we don't see the values. If you go through historical data, every year the stock will support in that particular PE, then only it will go up. Similarly, now the market is very peak. So everybody will tell it will go to 35,000 Nifty like that. That is the time market will fall. We should be very careful. Thank you. Yeah, that's what. We should be very careful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions from students here? A lot of students here today. Anyone? Give a mic.
Actually, I have a question. So, we're discussing about when to invest, but we never spoke about when do we sell the stock. Can you throw some light on that topic? Because we all invest and we keep it for a long time, but sometimes it goes down and it stays down. So we never knew when it's going to go up. So is there any time when we have to sell the stocks? Can you please explain about that? Thank you.
So I would suggest there's no hard and fast rule on that. Having said that, if you are needing that money for something, it could be an emergency, or you think there's a better investment, or you want to invest in yourself, for example, you want to study further. So you have to decide when is it that you want, and that's the time that you actually withdraw. Also another time would be, if you think that industry is not doing too well. So you may want to move it to something else that will give you better rate of return. So that's something you'll have to look at. And it could also be like an industry or a company specific thing. If a particular company is not doing well, the industry is doing well and the particular company is not doing well, you remove it. But if all these factors are okay, then it's better to hold on for the longer period, and most importantly, not to get affected by the market fluctuations. If there is a dip in Sensex today, for example, you don't have to panic, because in the long term, it doesn't matter. You only have to look at it from a long-term perspective. So those little market fluctuations and those corrections, don't get carried away by that, is what I would say.
Madam, may I add a few lines?
Yes, please.
Actually, based on the risk appetite of the individual. If you are able to have a higher risk appetite, you can take a gamble and do it. Basically, it all depends, as Madam said, when you want to exit, when you need that money for yourself. That is individuals. When to exit is individuals.
So if you're somebody who wants to trade too often, you're, like he said, it's a risk appetite. But if you just want your investment to grow on a long term, then just hold it for a longer period.
Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta. I think we'll move on to some online questions. There are about 324 people watching us on various channels, social media channels of MMA, Live IBC, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all these channels. So there are some questions that I have. Let me just take maybe 2 or 3. We're almost there as far as the time is concerned. Maybe I'll throw one question request to each of you. First question I will take is Ms. Sangeeta, for you. This is from Mr. Murli. He's saying, ma'am, you've said leave ego and don't be greedy. So these are the things that are said often in all the investment books. Is it easier said than done? Are there any specific strategies given in the book?
Okay, so I didn't say it. This is what the author has said. That's the first thing. So I think Bhavna has covered everything on the ego. So okay. I think it will be a... Yeah. Unless you want to add on anything else to it.
Is there anything given in the book specifically on that?
No, the book just says put aside your ego. Yes, I agree with Murli to say that it is easier said than done. But I guess we have to grow beyond that. And I mean, if you want to be successful, put your ego aside. That's what I would say. Yeah.
I may add something to this. This is also, we learn from repeating. Maybe this shedding ego cannot happen overnight, because it is an emotion which is there in us, a negative emotion which is there in us. So maybe first time we may fall, another time we may fall because of ego, third time we'll have to rise up.
Yeah.
So that's about it. We'll have to learn from our own mistakes.
That's it. Yeah, good, well answered. Then there's one question, I think I'll pass it on to Ms. Bhavna to answer. You explained, the question is, so there are many ways. Okay, this is how I think I will take it to Mr. Srikanth. So this question says, sir, you said that the sequence that possibly is given in the book is richer, wiser and happier. But whereas we see in many instances the poor people are the more happiest. So is there a contradiction in this?
Yeah, that's exactly what I interpreted. Maybe the author did not intend that way. Is the happier is the destination. You don't have to be rich, you don't have to be wise. Still you can still be happy. So I think it's a contentment. That's again that on the part of ego, emotions and everything. Sangeeta,
and also I think you want to be rich so that you can be happy. I mean,
ultimately
richness leads
mostly
to happiness.
you need money, really. You can't hide from the fact that you really need money. As long as your expenses and you do for the need and not for your greed. All this what we have heard a lot of times, maybe not have practiced. Over the years, that maturity will come. Seriously, I think it will come if you have that intention to really contain and not try to splurge. Automatically things, you will find that you will not derive happiness out of material. You will derive happiness out of seeing somebody happy, trying to help. You don't have to be a big philanthropist for us. Even if you pay a school fees for someone who is not able to do, I think that will give the happiness to you.
Yes, I think that's why it's called joy of giving.
Yeah.
I'll add on to this. See, richer, wiser, and happier, there is no definition to richer. It does not mean so much of richness has made you rich, that there is no definition. So, somebody may have less, but still he'll think he's richer. He's rich. Somebody will have more, still he'll feel that's not enough for me.
Yeah, true. It's relative.
Yeah. So, here, if I could take a minute
please.
Explain what richness means even to a person who is not so rich. I'll tell you with a live example. Last month we had a star award. We do the star award function every month in the office. And last month we got the nomination of a housekeeper. His name is Nelson. And he works at site. The site is at Porur. Our head office is in Kilpauk. We asked him to come over because the function is at the head office. He came. He had no clue. We didn't tell him that he has to come and collect. So he came. He was wondering for what we have called him, especially from the HR side. So during the function, when we called out his name, he had no, while he was walking from his place where he was there to come and collect the award for him, he literally had no clue on what this is all about. And when he came to the dais, we gave him the award, we gave him a trophy, we gave him a cash reward. And still he's so clueless. And upon asking him to share few words with the entire team, he says, I don't know why this award is given to me. I have been only doing my duty. So when I first said simplicity is just being simply simple and simply content, this I could clearly see in someone who's not so rich in terms of money, but he's completely happy and content in his life, wherever he is, whatever he is.
Great.
Yeah.
Very well explained, I think. So I think we can, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to give them a big hand for, sparing their valuable time, being with us this evening. Not an easy book to read, as I can understand, as I can see, a book that requires a lot of time to go through, assimilate what is given there, and then also kind of explain to all of us very concisely what is this book all about. I think all of us have a feeling that we are going back with the feeling of having read the book. It's so much in detail that it has been covered today, along adding your own experiences to that. So all that remains is for us to thank you this evening. I'll request Ms. Sangeeta to step forward and do the honor of presenting both the guest speakers. And since you are all so good in reading, we'll give you more books to read. Please take it back home.
More to read and more to explain.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for making it here. As was told in the beginning, the next big program coming up is on the 6th. So for those of you who have not yet registered, please do send in your